Now, there has never been a time since I have been alive where it's been more exciting to be an Ole Miss fan heading into a season than there is this offseason. There's been years where we thought Ole Miss could be dangerous or maybe have a chance to make a special run if every single break fell their way due to having a couple of big-time players at spots, or maybe the offense would be so good that they could hang in games while being just mediocre in the other phases. But never has there been a chance for Ole Miss to possibly be one of the most complete football teams in the country, to be able to have a good enough organization to overcome not even playing your best against good competition because of the depth and the talent that you've accrued. But after garnering even more momentum post beating Penn State in the bowl game to go 11-2, plus returning proven game breakers at important spots and bringing in even more proven talent in the transfer portal at some position groups, Ole Miss is without a doubt a top 5 team heading into 2024. And it's legitimate. This isn't some fairy tale or story that people are making up and hoping. Oh, and while I don't consider any SEC schedule easy, we should throw that word out, especially since they're adding Texas and Oklahoma. When compared to their peers, Ole Miss doesn't exactly have a murderer's row lined up in the non-conference, and their toughest conference matchups are at home. Add in the expanded playoff to 12, and 2024 is looking like a renaissance year for Lane, Juice Kiffin, and the rest of the Ole Miss fan base. And I, for one, am here for it. I'm going to go and bring in former Michigan quarterback, national championship representative.
Yes.
Michigan
playing for the national championship.
My brother.
Dude, you already won it, man.
No, that's
my brother,
attitude.
former Western State, Colorado wide receiver, Blaine Crane. And guys, you look at what Ole Miss brings back.
Yes.
Look at Jackson Dart. See with Judkins, what they return out wide, up front, defensively. And then what they've added in the transfer portal. Walter Nolan, Barron from Tennessee, Juice Wells from South Carolina. It's an embarrassment of riches at Ole Miss, unlike anything that we've seen. And again, I want to go back to not that Ole Miss hasn't had good years. I remember when they were co-champs of the SEC West with LSU with Eli Manning, even though LSU went to the SEC championship game. But never have I looked at an Ole Miss roster, have I looked at continuity, which while they're bringing in guys from the transfer portal, there's going to be a lot of continuity in important spots for Ole Miss. Coaching staff, right? Coordinator, quarterback, line of scrimmage. Never has this Ole Miss team seemed set up to make a legitimate run at a national championship. Not that you just got to hope beyond hope that you can sneak around and trick and smoke your mirrors and grab your popcorn and do all this stuff Lane Kiffin style. I think Ole Miss can get their ass on the bus, go play whoever they're going to play, and even if they don't play their best, they can be bailed out just because of the talent and the depth that they have. We have not seen that at all.
No, I love this pick from you. And, you know, with Lane Kiffin, I think all the things you're saying are right. Had a great high school recruiting class, dominated the transfer portal. But in this day and age, another factor not a lot of people are talking about are re-recruiting your own guys. Yeah. Lane Kiffin did that as good as anyone in the country. You're going to bring back Jackson Dart. You're going to bring back Judkins. And in that bowl game against Penn State, man, Jackson Dart was under assault. Even though Chop Robinson and those corners didn't play, that was still a really good Penn State defense that you put up a lot of great points again. I thought it was an awesome, momentum builder for Jackson Dart and for the Ole Miss offense and team heading into the offseason. So I love everything you're saying about that. And most importantly, Lane Kiffin looks focused. Really for the first time ever that I've seen him be a head coach, looks so motivated to do the things you're talking about, have a presence on the national stage. So I love that pick. I'm actually going to go with the Georgia Bulldogs, though, for me. The most momentum entering the 2024 season. First of all, we're talking about one of the best teams in the country already. Only lost one game in the past 2 seasons by 3 points in Atlanta against Alabama. I think you could put them in this year's playoff and no one would want to play them. Michigan doesn't want to play them. Alabama wouldn't want to play them again. But it's not so much about the performance they put up against Florida State's second team, but man, did Carson Beck look good. He just looks good delivering the football. I think he's going to be a Heisman finalist next year. They're motivated, this team that they're bringing back, and all of that combined with the fact, they also had the number 1 recruiting class coming out of high school.
Yeah, and Kirby's not going to have to reach far to find motivation after this group didn't make the playoff. You saw Carson Beck, one of the main reasons he decided to come back, which is I think it's a smart move. I think J.J. McCarthy should follow suit because the class is so loaded, but then missing the playoff. But without a doubt, you look at the way Georgia reloads, what they do bring back at certain spots. You know how talented they're going to be up front. I think the front seven has a chance to be even more special than it was this past year going into next year. So, yeah, Georgia's here to stay. I do want to bring up, and Blaine, I know you're going to pick your team. We want to know what you think, too. We're going to open the phone lines up at 7:15 a.m. Central. That's 8:15 a.m. Eastern. But when you look at a schedule is a huge deal here. Because remember, we are going away from divisions. There's not a 9-conference in-game or 9-game in-conference schedule yet. I think the SEC is going there. You're adding Texas and Oklahoma. But when you look at Ole Miss's schedule, if we can pull that up, I just want to go through that really quickly. So I think the toughest non-conference is Wake Forest. I can't remember if that game's on
Georgia
the road
Southern.
Don't be
disrespectful.
Hey, you best come correct.
Yeah, I'm not
Furman, Middle Tennessee,
Statesboro.
Wake Forest, and Georgia Southern.
Yeah, I mean, and then you look, I know they do go to LSU, but you get Georgia at home and you don't play Alabama.
They don't play Alabama.
Huge.
Yeah.
That's absolutely huge.
They go to Florida at the end of the year, and the Egg Bowl will be at home at the end of the year.
I'm telling you, look at all the ingredients, all the recipe, and I'm not saying they're going to win the SEC. I think they have a legitimate chance. But you talk about getting in that 12-team playoff and having a chance to do some damage. Because, look, we're entering an age now, and we saw this could have happened with Ohio State last year, is that you can, especially now with the 12-team expanded playoff, you can lose big games during the regular season. You can lose to your rival during the regular season and then make up for it in the playoff if you go win the whole thing or have a chance to even make the Final Four now, which is going to be an even cooler thing than making the Final Four is where we currently sit with the 14 playoff. But Blaine, who do you got?
Well, I would like to get y'all's opinion on the 2 new teams coming to the SEC too. Which one y'all think more than that? But I like both your picks. But I'm gonna go with the Missouri Tigers. Yeah. I mean, right now, if you want to talk about momentum, seeing Missouri beat Ohio State in the Cotton Bowl was the best Missouri because now people can believe in the nation that you can beat the best. And you go through the losses they had. Hell, you lost to 9 points by Georgia, where you had a chance to win that game, and you had a shootout against LSU. But what do we look at? We look at key positions. You got the who cooked here, Brady Cook coming back, who's gone through it the last 2 years, from a 6-6 year before that to now this year. You have Luther Burden, which in my opinion will probably be the best receiver coming back in college football. You lose Schrader up front. You lose some key pieces on defense. But Drink is building this team to last. They're building. I can't tell you a game where Missouri hasn't walked into it thinking they have a chance to win. And if you're a Missouri fan, you're starting to get over the hump. You're starting to see the promised land on the other side of that. And Missouri is now walking into football games expecting to win these games. And you go look at their schedule. You got a couple tough ones. You go to Texas A&M, and you go to Alabama. But other than that, with the experience that you're bringing back, Missouri's a team people do not want to see next year.
Yeah. And
in my opinion, can be a college football playoff.
Well, there's a ton of parallels, I think, between Ole Miss and Missouri. I don't think Missouri's got one of the tougher schedules in the SEC anyway. But if you're heading into this next year and you're a Missouri fan, you're walking around the tailgate a little bit different. You're an Ole Miss fan. You show up at school with that Ole Miss shirt on. It means a little more than what it used to. Not saying that these schools haven't had pride. Not saying that these schools haven't had years where they've done good things or had a chance to win championships. But talk about building it to last, right? Building that foundation, finding your guy. There's some similarities in Drink and Kiffin, too, and kind of their personalities and how they go about things. So I'm so interested to see teams that have gone from, the duplex to the suburbs. Now trying to move to the hills.
Oh,
like what's Burbank talking about?
Wow. It's like you were just a little freshman, then you went through a summer, you came back, you grew 3 inches and gained 30 pounds.
Yeah.
And people starting to talk to you.
Putting up 225.
Yeah. It's that weight doesn't feel as heavy.
No.
You're not looking up to people as much. You're starting to look down at some people, and that's where you want to be.
Well, yeah, and again, you got guys like Brady Cook and Jackson Dart. Look, they're the 27-year-old who's been through the good relationships, been through the bad relationships, knows what they're looking for, and they're ready to settle down, right? Hey, maybe I don't need to meet you out on Broadway, right? Like Morgan Wallen says, leave them Broadway girls on. Maybe I meet you, maybe it's at a spin class. Hell, maybe it's at a farmer's market.
Well,
who knows?
To keep the analogy going, what about the prom king? What about the defending champion, Alabama? They're going to return Jalen Monroe, Nick Saban, more likely to come back than he was. They're not going to win the national championship. How you feeling about that roster next year?
What? Alabama's going to be good. They're going to be good. They're going to be good. Like, it's what this is it now. This is until there is some paradigm shift, right? Whether that be Nick Saban, deciding to get transported up to the mothership again, where he came from, like Kirby Smart, Georgia's not going anywhere. The question is not, the question is not about Georgia and Alabama. Like, yeah, they're going to be really good, right? They got really good players. They've turned it into the machine. It's who is that next year? We've waited on A&M, right? And that didn't come to fruition with Jimbo Fisher. We're looking at Auburn and Hugh Freeze. Josh Heupel and them gave us a taste last year. You look at what Nico showed us in the bowl game and what they have moving forward. And we're going to go through each conference. It's not just going to be SEC. We're going to talk Big 12, Big 10, and stuff like that. But just in the SEC, yeah, Georgia, I can tell you, Georgia's going to be good. Bama's going to be good. Vandy's going to probably suck. That's just the truth. Even though I do like them getting the Nate Johnson kid.
Come on, Nate.
From Utah. Hey, at least be good at something.
Hey, we're really
run around.
We're really
run around.
We're not really
cause
focused on
problems.
So what about LSU?
We are focused on finishing.
What's LSU? Is Nussmeier going to start at quarterback for LSU?
I think he is.
I think he's good.
But yeah, Garrett's fine. But you cannot get away, and they couldn't get away with it this year. They got away with
They
it
had the
to fullest
Heisman winner.
extent with as bad of a defense.
I know.
As you had last year with Garrett Nussmeier, because one element of the run game is gone pretty much.
Sure.
Now, not only that, but Jane Daniels' ability to extend plays and make those crazy scramble drill plays, the etch-a-sketch plays, as we call them. So kind of looking around the periphery, it's going to be interesting to see what teams
I'll
step
answer
up.
your
But I
question
think Tennessee
quickly,
and
though. You're talking
or
about
Ole Miss
the,
and Missouri.
Oklahoma, Texas.
The, two new teams coming in. You have to go with Texas right now, right?
Yeah.
Just from a momentum standpoint, because they made the college football playoff. You're coming off a season where you beat Alabama on the road in Tuscaloosa, and you return your quarterback. So you'd have to give the nod to them. And plus, in Austin, for the last 10 years, it's really been a struggle. Now you can sort of sense that momentum. Okay, Sark is the right guy. Fell short against Washington in the college football playoff, but we're returning so much. Let's build off of that.
Without a doubt. And yes, you have to look at Texas and say you feel better about that situation than Oklahoma's, especially with Jackson Arnold kind of turning the ball over the way that he did, even though I think it's good for him to get the mistakes out. I got a lot of respect for the Big 12. Got a lot of respect for Texas. You went on the road and beat Alabama, right, in week 2. Very impressive. Made the college football playoff. Very impressive. But until you go through this SEC schedule, I don't think we can really A, know, or B, they can understand. Not that Sark doesn't understand, but the problem with playing in the SEC, the hardest part is not the one-off games against Bama. Oh, you get to go play Bama. Now here's UCF, okay? Here's a couple run-of-the-mill teams. Oh, you may run into a Kansas State that's a problem. Texas Tech can get hot. I love what Joey McGuire's doing over there. But the hardest part about playing in the SEC and what makes it what it is, it's that week in and week out absolute grind of outside of Vanderbilt being in a fist fight or having the potential to lose every game. I think you can say the same thing about SEC basketball too now. Like it's oh, hey, wow, we went on the road and somehow beat Alabama. By the grace of God, beat Alabama on the road. Guess what? Congratulations. You know what you got next week? You're going to Kentucky. Right?
Well,
or you're going to LSU.
Don't forget, Texas has Michigan week 2.
Oh, yeah. Texas is scheduled next year.
And you got Georgia at home. No
It's like
Alabama.
getting sat on by a fat kid when you're younger, so you just can't get out, and it stinks. Hey, YouTube, thanks for stopping by. If you haven't, subscribe. It's 2024, man. Like, it's January 3rd already. I got a refrigerator coming today at some point. So make sure you subscribe. We'd appreciate it. Go grab some merch, too, from thedailywire.com/shop. We got cool mugs, candles, hoodies, anything your heart's desire, and more toys than the North Pole.